Hello, people of the world, and welcome back on the Marry in Motion podcast. Today, I'm with Clément.
Hi, everyone.
He has been my friend for more than 5 years.
Yeah, probably 6 even. Such a long time.
We met at the beginning of university.
Back in Toulouse, south of France.
Then we were together for 2 years. We studied together for 2 years. And
Yes.
then we haven't seen each other so much since then. But fortunately, a few months ago, I heard that he was moving to Brussels, to where I'm living right now.
So that's how we got back together. And I guess we have not seen each other a lot since back in uni because we've been traveling, right? That's what we're going to talk about today, so I'm not really getting into that.
Yeah, we have been traveling so much, both of us, but never together.
We have actually. We've been to Finland, but
Yeah,
it's okay
true.
that you forget.
No. Yeah, true. Sorry. Yeah, we traveled there for 1 week. It was super cool. But that's not what I want to talk about today. Actually, you studied in Taiwan, right?
Yes, I did. So for everyone out there that doesn't really know what Taiwan is, it's basically a small island in the Chinese Ocean. So right by China, below Japan, and above the Philippines. It's a very small country, I'd say smaller than Belgium, and very densely populated because it has a population of 23 million, which is approximately the population of Australia. So if you compare the size of both of those countries, you realize that there are people in Taiwan.
Oh, I didn't even know that.
Yeah, that's a very interesting fact, especially because Taiwan has a lot of mountains and countrysides, but we'll talk about that later. And so big cities are overpopulated and some places are not.
How did it happen that you went to Taiwan?
Well, basically, I've always wanted to travel and to see the world, and I've applied to an exchange program that is called Rotary. I'm not sure they're doing it today still because they're having some problems about COVID and stuff. But back then, I was selected, and then I chose to go to Canada, but they said, no, you'd rather go to Taiwan because not many people wanted to go there. So I was like, okay, that's fine, let's go to Taiwan.
How old were you?
I was 16, so it lasted for almost a year. So I came back, I was 17, but feeling more like 20, you know?
Yeah. So it was a high school program.
Some sort, yeah, because when Rotary send people abroad, they want to do like a big change. So let's say, for example, me, I went to Taiwan, hosted by a host family, and then some Taiwanese boy, for example, would go to America, and then an American girl would go to Finland, and a Finnish boy would go to France to my house. So it would be a big chain of that, and every exchange student would be hosted by local families.
I mean, it's such a good thing that you are hosted by local family. So then the cultural exchange is so much bigger.
Exactly. I was not really around French people or outside of European people or American people. So I was really into the culture and into the people.
But was it the first time you were traveling?
Traveling, no, but like living elsewhere, definitely, yes.
And did you ever go to Asia before that?
I have been to China when I was little because my uncle lives there. And I'd say it was similar, but I don't really remember anything about that time in China. So it was pretty new experience for me.
Did you know anything about the country before going? Because you wanted to go to Canada first.
Yes, to be fair, I didn't know much about Taiwan. I knew they spoke Chinese, so before I took the plane, I googled like the 100 most used verbs and nouns in Chinese, which I forgot all of them. But no, I didn't know very much about the city or the country or anything.
But you are happy that you were sent to Taiwan?
Yeah, I'd say so because I always find happiness where I can find it. And, you know, I was on it for 10 months, so let's just do it, we'll see.
It's amazing to be sent there, especially because you didn't really want to at the beginning. So then you are learning so much more about, the country, the culture. It's so much more different than what we are used to.
Yeah, I was not expecting anything. I was just ready to discover and learn new things, ready to enjoy.
So you said that they were doing some kind of cycle. So someone went to your house too and lived with your parents.
Yes, exactly. For the time I was away, my family received a girl from Poland and one girl from Argentina. As a matter of fact, the next year I went abroad, my brother also did it. So we also received some new foreign exchange students, one from America and one from India. As a conclusion, I'd say that I've traveled and I've discovered many things, but also my sister has discovered like 4 brothers and sisters that living with her, my parents too. For a span of 2 years, we were really in a multicultural type of family, so we really enjoyed it.
That's amazing, because
Yes, it is.
I know that my parents' generation are less open about traveling, about new cultures. Was it a wish from them to have this, or did they just do it because you were with this program?
Oh no, they were really hard to convince. I had to show I was motivated, I could do it, and that would be okay for them. And we had to talk about it a lot. But once it was done, they were so happy. And even nowadays, my parents still consider some of the exchange students that went to a house like they're real kids. So that's really nice for me to see, you know.
Because it was an amazing experience for you, but also for your parents.
Exactly.
I really love this program. I'm super sad that there was not such thing in my high school, or that I was not aware of that kind of program.
Yeah, they don't talk about it very much. I just found out about this program because I had an American guy in my class doing this. Otherwise, I would have never known.
But did you have to pay for that?
Basically, you have to pay for the plane ticket and just a few vaccine and insurance stuff, but all around less than 2,000 euros for sure for the whole year. So I'd say no, I didn't have to pay much.
Yeah, you pay for the plane ticket. For me, it's normal, but you don't have to pay for the program.
Oh, no. It's completely free. It's people giving the time to host and make others discover.
I love it. It's really amazing. But I hope they still do stuff.
I hope so. I'm not sure.
So you didn't know much about the country. So what was your first impression when you arrived?
So many first impressions, you know, because when I arrived, it was a hot country. It was in August, so pretty hot. A lot of Taiwanese people around me speaking Chinese, which I didn't understand at all. Everyone taking pictures with me, everyone greeting me, giving me food, giving me things, and I couldn't even say thank you. So I had a lot of, it was weird for me, especially because the architecture and the nature is so different, so nothing I was used to seeing. So I was really in shock. They were really interested about why we're all white, why we don't have the same eyes, and why we don't speak the same language, what we are. And it's much different than here because they want to know, so they come to you and then ask you. Sometimes they pull up Google Translate and they just ask, oh, why is your skin white? You know, basic question, but it shows that they have a lot of respect, even though we're different. Also, it could be because I was not living in the capital city. I was in a small town, so they were probably less used to seeing white people than people in Taipei, which is the capital.
There were also a lot of tourists.
Yes, yeah.
I think it's also easier for tourists to go to Taiwan than to go to China.
Probably, yeah, because people might feel safer to be in Taiwan because they're scared of mainland China and the Communist Party, so they'd rather go to Taiwan, which is a good thing. Thank you for coming.
Also, you don't need a VPN when you go to Taiwan.
Exactly, you can use Instagram.
How was it the first time you met your host family?
Really intriguing because they were 2 very old people, probably around 70 or 75, I'm not sure. And they could not speak any word of English other than hello. And me, I could say ni hao, which is the same in Chinese. So it was weird, but I remember my host dad, he would take me everywhere. And with time, you just get used to it and you learn how to communicate with each other. And at the end of the day, it's really good.
Was it the first time that they were hosting someone?
It was, yeah. Okay. So they were not really used to having foreigners in the house.
So it must have been such a huge culture shock for them too.
Yeah, I think everyone was in shock, actually. Who is that guy from France coming? He's so young, what is he doing here?
And did you learn to speak Chinese?
Yes, I did. I had to, because during my stay in Taiwan, I would go to high school for 3 days where I would learn normal topics. and also to other classes to learn Chinese specifically. So 2 days a week. Also, you have to learn the language if you want to have friends and be able to communicate with people and be able to be grateful with people. So that's what I did.
But your classes were in English?
No, everything was in Chinese,
Mm.
and we just had to get along with it to understand. And I remember I would take my phone, and when I would hear something, I would write it down and assume that probably means that, you know? And when I look at this list today of like maybe 200 expressions and stuff, most of them are wrong. But that's how I learned, like little by little every day. And that's how I got to a point after 3-4 months of being able to understand basic things. And by the end of the year, I was able to communicate in Chinese with locals. So it took time.
I'm super impressed that you just went there. You couldn't understand anything. You couldn't understand the people, the classes, and you just went on with it.
Thank you. I guess you have to when you live in another country. If you want to enjoy your time and be free to do whatever you want, to order food and stuff, you need to talk to the people. And the people are going to be so impressed by you speaking Chinese, because Chinese is quite hard, so not many foreigners do learn it. And when you do make the effort to speak to them in Chinese, they're, oh my God, why? And then there's a conversation, and they want to give you food, they want to show you around, and you basically you go from there.
Were you the only foreigner in your high school?
We were 2 out of like 5,000 students, so I'd say yeah.
Oh my God.
Yes, and I was the only one for half of my exchange, so the first half, so yeah.
It must have been so scary, or maybe a bit lonely at the beginning.
I don't think lonely is the right word, because as I mentioned before, it's really densely populated, so never really lonely. But however, yes, you don't make very deep connections by the start of it, but it gets better, and I knew it was gonna get better, so I kept faith.
What was the city?
I would live in Zhunan, which is an hour driving south from Taipei, the capital city.
Okay.
And when I said a small town before, I have to correct myself. It was 100,000 people, which they would call a small town. So that's why I said it, okay. Which is not a small town in my opinion. But
what kind of city has this number of population in France? Because I don't really know.
Probably Montauban or something like that.
Okay, so it's not a small town.
So it's not a small town, it's a city.
Because when you said a small town, I was imagining a little countryside village.
There is no countryside like that, no.
How about the daily life? How was it different from what you were used to?
Oh, it was so different. First of all, people wake up so early. You know, the sun wakes up every morning, so why won't you wake up at the same time than the sun? So people would. And then a lot of them would start the day or go running or stuff. So like by 7, everything was more than ready. And then I would go to school. I would arrive there at, I don't know, 7:20 or something. Then I would stay in school until 6
p.m.
Yeah, usually. Me, I was allowed to leave early because I had a different schedule than the locals. But if we talk about the locals, they would. And then they have other classes after that, so they do study a lot.
I mean, more than 12 hours a day?
It's crazy, yeah. Basically, their whole lives until 18 is how well they're going to perform in school and how well they study, so...
Okay, but then they had a lot of different subjects in high school, so they would fill all of those hours? Or would they just work by themselves?
No, it's the first thing that you said. It's basically 45 minutes of math and then 10-minute break and then 45 minutes of Chinese literature and then other things. Then you would have a lunch break. It was funny. You would have a lot of shop owners coming into the school and selling us rice and dumplings and everything. Would cost basically nothing. And you would eat it in class, right? So you go downstairs to buy, then you go upstairs to eat it in class for half an hour. And then you would have to take the mandatory nap, which is a 20-minute time every day that you have to sleep. Basically, the teacher shut down the light and you shut down your phone and you just lay on a table and sleep.
On the table?
Yeah.
You're still sitting?
Yes. And trust me, it was the best time of every single day, because when you get to like 12:30 or something and you've been waking up for 5 or 6 hours, you need that time. And everybody was just calm, and when you wake up and get ready for other classes, you are ready, you want to study again.
That's
So
cool.
that was the best moment. Yes.
I like that it's mandatory, because I think if you would do it here or in France, people wouldn't really do it.
Yeah, exactly. If we had the choice to do it or not in France, like maybe 80% of people would not do it. So
And did you keep that habit when you came back?
sometimes I remember when I came back, I would, in uni or high school, I would just sleep. However, it's not really convenient, because people look at you quite weirdly. So, but the good thing is that I learned to fall asleep everywhere and anytime. So that's a good skill, I'd say.
Yeah, you need to fall asleep super quickly if you want to
Oh, yeah,
enjoy
yeah.
those 20 minutes.
If you have 20 minutes, if you don't fall asleep in the 3 next minutes, not going to be very effective.
Yeah. So they had also different expectations in terms of work and grades, and could you perform?
No, I could not. As a matter of fact, I failed this year because it was really hard. But if we talk about how they expect Taiwanese students to perform, yeah, they do expect them to perform very well. They're way better than us in math, in physics, in English, in anything.
In English too.
Oh, yeah.
So you could
The
have
students.
friends, you could communicate with the students.
I guess I could, and I did. However, they're really shy, so it was hard to make deep connections because, I don't know, like when you imagine a white guy talking to like Asian person, they would just laugh and run away, That's what would happen sometimes.
Yeah.
So it was hard to make friends. Also, I was not really allowed to go outside my house by night.
Why not? Because your host family, or?
Yes, because I was a minor and my host family didn't want anything to happen. Even though I think Taiwan is the safest place you could do stupid things because nobody is gonna tell you anything. They're so scared of talking to you sometimes. So,
Did you do any extracurricular activities, like outside of school?
I want to answer no to that question because as I was a foreigner and it was hard for me to get along with normal classes, they would remove some of the geography, history, math and stuff to learn about robotics, mechanics, sport, cooking, anything fun. So I won't say I had extracurricular activities, but I had in-course very fun activities, yeah.
So cooking, for example.
Oh yes, I cook like basically every day in class.
What? With
Yes.
Chinese food?
Yeah, usually,
Oh.
sometimes Western food too. I also learned how to program little robots, how to deal with a broken sink or
What?
anything, I would learn.
But that's so cool. But they had such classes then that normal student could take.
Yeah, they had.
Were there a lot of other students with you in those classes?
Usually, yes, it's like 40 or 50 people in the same class. But they're really disciplined, there's no noise or it could be 100. I think it would still be better than 20 people in France. So if you were talking and the teacher didn't like it, they would notice that they do put you outside. And I think the shame on you being outside and the other people looking at you would make you understand that you don't have to do this again, and you won't. Everything is really military in a sense in Taiwan, especially because it's a country that is under pressure from China mainly. So they know how to obey orders and be ready in case of anything. So that's something they learned from a very young age, because in my school, something I forgot to mention, every morning you would have the raising flag. So it would be a ceremony of about 30 minutes. First you would raise the flag with the national anthem, and then you would have some outsiders coming to speak. So it would be businessmen, doctors, it would be army guy, and anyone. They would come, make a speech, and leave. And so every morning you would have this great speech about someone and the raise of the flag, and everyone in line, packed class by class with their uniforms. I forgot to mention that too. Every class had a different uniform. So it would really feel like a military camp.
Did you like that?
I loved it. When you wake up and you don't know how you're going to dress, just remember that you only have one way to dress, so you just do it and you go to school, which is something I really like. I think it's more adapted to their culture than ours. I really enjoyed it there. Not sure if I would enjoyed it in France.
What was the thing you liked most, besides the uniform?
About the schools.
Like the military mindset?
Oh yeah, I like it was really straightforward. One good thing is, in France when the class ends at 55 and then at 58 you're still in class learning about things. No, in Taiwan 55 out, but you have to be in time also. So everything is how it's supposed to be. So that's really enjoyable.
Yeah,
I like to be on time and stuff. So.
Did you have weekends?
I did, and I would go around and explore, having dinners, learning Chinese, doing some sport, watching TV. So I would watch the Chinese TV, the national TV, which I wouldn't understand anything, but I felt like watching American movies that I knew in Chinese helped me learn Chinese more, and I enjoyed my time there. So, and I would eat a lot because it was really good and really cheap.
Yeah, because you were allowed to go out.
I was on the weekend, yes. I had a few foreign friends too that I made along the way. So we did some stuff together, but mainly exploring,
The city or the country?
The whole country, because the country is very small. So you would get a train. Taiwan is quite famous, but for their train system, it's really on time, it's really clean and really cheap. And you would take a train for like 1 hour north and 3 hours south. You would have done the entire country. So pretty convenient, You would leave on a Saturday morning and be back by night,
What was your favorite place you visited?
Oh, I had a lot. But I would say it was a big temple. It was named Fo Guangshang. It's one of the biggest Buddha in Asia, I think. I'm not sure. And it's just the most peaceful place you could imagine of. You would enter this giant temple and everyone just calm and smiling and not talking because you have to respect the silence. It just felt very good that day, so I really liked it. And also they had a whole museum explaining foreigners what is Buddhism in English. So it was really good for us to understand the religion, and I really felt the power of Buddhism that day.
What about the religion there? Do they practice it a lot?
Usually yes, but in a more private way. They would do it at home. But every little home had a room where you would have some Buddhas, some food that you would give to the gods. And it's like a Buddhist room in every house. And I was quite lucky because in my second host family, I was living right by a big temple. So I would just open my window and I would be on the temple, with a lot of Buddhist monks and peaceful guys coming to pray and stuff. So it was really relaxing, and I was just enjoying every minute of it.
Sounds amazing, really.
It was. I remember we had the temple had a little lake with a lot of turtles, and every night I would come home and go watch the turtles because it's so relaxing to watch them walk and all of a sudden jump into the water. I loved it so much. Yeah.
So you said you had 3 different host families.
I did, yeah, because the whole mindset behind changing families is that you need to see different things, and you need to start with the family that is the least Western, Once you speak the language and stuff, you can change to families that speaks more English. So
I like the mindset. It's
really
cool.
Smart thing, yeah.
So you really have a culture shock at the beginning and you are forced to learn.
Exactly.
And then,
because if you do the other way around and your host family speak good English, then why do you want to learn Chinese, So.
Did you enjoy learning the language?
I did a lot. I think it's really fun to speak Chinese, and it's something people don't expect about me. Also, I can communicate way more with Chinese people and the Taiwanese people, so I'm really happy about that.
What was your favorite food there?
Dumplings. I would eat it every morning. It was something like 25 cents of euros each, but big dumplings, and I would eat 5-6 every morning, and then sometimes by lunch and sometimes by the evening. And bubble teas, which is becoming really famous here. I loved it much more there.
Yeah, when I was there, I was drinking 1 or 2 every day. I was obsessed.
Exactly.
But here, it doesn't feel the same.
Oh yeah, me too. I don't drink it here.
But then, you were back there this summer,
This winter, actually.
this
like
winter.
3-4 months ago, because I lived in Cambodia for a while, and I was like, okay, if I'm that close, I need to go back. So I've only been there for 10 days due to schedule, but it was really fun. And as I improved my Chinese also, because I kept learning, it was really more of a deeper connection, and I was older, so I really felt a new Taiwan, which makes me want to go back again. And right now I'm looking for jobs for next year in Taiwan, so I guess I'll be there soon.
Oh my god, I'm so excited for you.
Yeah.
Did you connect with your host families again?
Yeah.
All of them?
I did them a surprise, so I just showed up one day uninvited, just be like, hey, guess who's back? It was me, so I was crying so much. And so we spent the whole week together. I slept at their house, and everybody was so surprised and so happy that I came back, and I was too. So we shared lots of meals, a lot of hikes, lots of visits, and everything.
And also you said inspiring people were talking during the flag race in the morning at your school.
Oh, exactly. So I came back to my high school because I wanted to say hi to the teachers and the people helping me there. And they said, oh, okay, very good, he's back. Tomorrow morning you're gonna come and gonna talk in Chinese in front of all of the students in the uniform. And I was like, okay, let me think about it. And I say yes, and I did it, and I was so proud of myself, and everyone was looking at me, and it was stressful, because you have like thousands of people in front of you listening, talking about your experience, and in a foreign language. It was really stressful, but very fun experience.
Yeah, what did you talk about?
I talked about why I came to Taiwan, what I did there, and also I talked about the importance of learning languages and not being afraid to talk to people. And at the end of my speech also I made a reference about China not invading Taiwan and Taiwan being an independent country, so they were really glad I said that.
Is it a bit of a taboo subject to talk about China and the invasion, or?
I don't think it is. I think they're ready. They really don't want to be Chinese. One sentence they say most in English is Taiwan number one, which is their way of reaffirming their differences. And it's not taboo because, and that's something I've been a part of. Every year, every student has to go to military camp and learn how to shoot, learn how to defend and obey orders. So they're ready in case of an emergency. It's not taboo. They know it could come anytime, and same with North Korea. So war is around,
Yeah.
It could come.
Yeah, but that's maybe because they really know that it can come, that they are more disciplined and more ready to defend their country. And
they're not going to let it go very easy. Even though there are 20 million compared to like 1,400,000,000. So.
Yeah, but I have hope.
Same.
We need to go back before it's invaded.
Yeah, right.
Would you have any advice for someone that would like to do something similar in Taiwan or in any other country?
I would give the advice of always saying yes, because when something doesn't really sound fun, you just say yes anyway, because first option is not fun, you lost a day, whatever. Second option, you learned something and it's really something you can remember, so just fucking do it. And always go talk to the people. Don't be scared. They are scared as much as you are. So if you're the first one to make the move, then everything is gonna go fine. And when I was back in Taiwan this year, I remember I was in a park by myself, and there were a group of students looking at me and not moving, and I just go to them and talk to them. And from then on, we stayed like an hour talking. But if I had never made the move, I would have never got their names or anything. So just do it.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love this mindset. How did that experience change you?
Oh, that's a deep question. It made me realize that we are not that different after all. Like everyone, it's just humans trying to survive and do their thing. We just need to respect each other. And it got me more mature too, because I was away from my family, so.
You were super young.
Yes, and I came back and I understood the importance of studying also. So that got me into studies, I think. Otherwise, I was not really a good student before leaving France. So I guess that's a good thing.
Yeah, only good stuff.
Exactly.
Did anything negative happen? that you would
Honestly,
say?
no. I don't think there's any negativity about that experience.
Good.
Everything was perfect.
I love to hear
Yeah.
that. Do you have a sentence in Chinese that stuck with you?
In order to encourage people or like to give a good luck speech, they say 加油, which means add some fuel to your machine. And I think it's really interesting. So sometimes I'm like, 加油, Clément, you can do it, you know?
I love that. Thank you so much for sharing your
Thank you.
experience. I hope we will see each other on another episode.
I hope so too.
I have some in mind, so be prepared.
Very good. I can't wait. 谢谢.
And jayo.
加油, everyone.